Hi there, RJ Tessman here with more tips for writers. One of the things that many of my clients struggle with is the issue of stopping in the middle of writing. What happens is they try to be too good. They try to be too right. And they work and they work, but then they stop and they think and they overthink and they end up editing themselves. And so they stop the entire creative process. And the reason this happens is because writing and editing work from different sides of the brain. And so once you stop to edit, then the creative juices have stopped and you have to start all over later and go back to get yourself into the writing mode again. So what happens is you stop and you're not as productive as you want to be, and you get frustrated, and some people never finish a book, never finish a novel because they keep stopping to fix things. So how do we deal with this, and what do we do to make sure that our writing is pure and creative, and then later on we go back and use the other side of the brain and write and edit? So one of the things that you can do is to set a timer. Maybe 10-15 minutes. Set the timer and you cannot stop. Your fingers must continue to work even if you are writing just a bunch of nonsense. You do not stop until the timer dings. And then gradually you teach yourself to add a few more minutes and a few more minutes. Another thing that you can do is to find your code. And this is what I do. I had to teach myself, as an editor and a former English teacher, I had to teach myself to stop stopping and correcting and going back to edit. So I use a code, and while I'm writing, if I think of a new word that I want, then I put the forward slash. So I do word forward slash, word forward slash, but I don't stop. My fingers are still working. They're just doing the slashes. Then when I go back to edit, I just look for all the forward slashes, and that's where I'm going to revise. Another thing you can do is consider a conjunction. I used this method for a while. So writing along and think of something and just say or and write, or and write, or and write. But it was a little more difficult for me to go back in and find all the ors when I was into the editing process. So for me, the forward slash was an easier tool to use. Another thing you might try is a word limit. Tell yourself you can't stop writing until you've done 1,000 words. And it's easy in Microsoft Word. They always tell you how many words you have. So you just continue to write until you've met your word limit. So I hope that these are some great tools and tips for you, some ideas. Another resource you might try is the movie Finding Forrester. It's an older movie starring Sean Connery, and it shows two writers. Sean Connery's character, Forrester, is teaching the younger character how to write, and he's mentoring him. And they sit down at a desk with typewriters, the days of typewriters, and they both just continue to type. And the younger character says, well, what shall I write? And Sean Connery, Forrester, says, no, just write. And so they continue to write, and they're even talking back and forth, but they're writing. And out of that comes this amazing novel. So it's a fun movie to watch. That's another resource for you. Just remember that writing and editing are from opposite sides of the brain, and you cannot do them at the same time. Write first, then edit. I'd love it if you would check me out at rjtessman.net, follow my blog, sign up for my newsletter, but most of all, keep writing because your words matter.